Once you've opened your template, set it up with the correct name and months. Come up to the top left-hand corner and type in the name for the farm business or the person that you're preparing the budget for. You'll notice this template has been opened to show September 2007. I want the budget to start from the 1st of January 2009, so I simply type the date in, press enter, and you'll notice it adjusts automatically. Step 1 in preparing a budget is to ask the question, what will you produce? And in our farm that we're going to have a quick look at today, they produce wheat and run sheep. So we'll go to the grain income or production template down in the bottom here. Click on that and we can see we open up a grain program already set up with the name we entered and the budget period. These people produce wheat, so I type in wheat. They have 1,000 hectares they've told me they're going to produce, and they expect to get 2 tonne per hectare as their average yield. Of that 2,000 tonnes that they will be producing, they would like to retain 200 tonne in their silos, meaning that they will have 1,800 tonnes available for sale, and they have an expectation that they will get $185 a tonne. And that wheat will be sold in December of our budget year. So that has completed a summary of their activities for wheat. If they produced other crops, we could do a similar situation for the other crops down here. If any grain on hand was going to be sold during the budget year, it can be entered here in the same way. Their other activity is sheep, and that one looks a little bit more complicated, so we'll spend a bit of time going through a sheep production program. Okay, the family have told me that they expect to join 2,000 merino ewes this year to produce merino lambs. So let's start up the top here. They have an 87% average lambing rate. They've also told me that on hand they have those 2,000 ewes. They have 1,200 lambs born late spring last year on hand. They have 500 merino ewe hoggets and 60 rams. They tell me the value of these is $80 for the ewes. The current crop of lambs is $75. They put their hoggets at $80 and their rams at $70. So we've gathered up quite a bit of information there already. And you'll notice that as you're putting the information in, some of the calculations are occurring on the sheet automatically. What it has shown that for the 2,000 ewes mated at 87%, we expect the lamb drop in our budget year to be 1,740 total. Let's follow our story through. Let's look at these lambs. These lambs at the moment are only a couple of months old. But we're preparing the budget, but they tell me that they expect to sell all the wether lambs, which would be 600, plus 100 of the ewe lambs. So a total of 700 lambs will be sold. They expect to get $80 a head for those, and they are intending to do this in January, February and March of our calendar year. We still have, of those original 1,200 lambs that we had on hand at the beginning of the budget year, 500. We had sold 700 of them. The other 500 they intend to hold as ewe hoggets and to eventually use those as replacement ewes in their breeding flock. So we're going to transfer them out of the lambs and into the hogget category. What you'll notice immediately is that we've accounted for all of these 1,200 lambs, and what we're closing, our closing numbers in December of our budget year would be 1,740, which are just the lambs that would have been born towards the end of our budget time. Now, the other thing we've got here are these ewe hoggets that were on hand at the beginning. They intend to transfer those out of that category and to take those older ewe hoggets and put them in with their breeding ewes. At the same time, they will cull out the oldest of the current breeding ewes and sell those, and they expect to get $60 a head for it, and that they intend to do that in February of their budget year. Okay, so that pulls up the story of what they're going to be physically doing with their sheep and their sales, and we can see immediately what our closing numbers would be expected to be. And a comparison back with our opening numbers, we can make sure we haven't missed anything. They won't be exactly the same, obviously, because the production will change slightly from year to year. Of course, if we've got sheep, for most breeds of sheep, we're going to have to think about the wool. And so they tell you that they're going to shear those 2,000 ewes, and they expect to get about 6.5 kilos per head. And they will also be shearing those hoggets and expect to get 4 kilos per head, and the rams, which they will expect to get 7.5 kilos per head. Immediately we've calculated our total wool clip, and they tell you that they expect to get 785 cents per kilo, and you'll notice this column is in cents, so just put 785 cents a kilo in, and it will calculate the income for it. The month of the year that they intend to sell will be November, and so we can just drop November in here. You'll notice that at the same time our sheet is calculating the wool averages and tells us the estimated bales from that wool cut and the dollars per bale. This acts as a useful double check on whether or not the figures are realistic. Well, that's the end of the sheep production program. I'm sure you'll find the cattle production program is simpler, and I have supreme confidence that you will be able to work your way through whatever production programs are needed for your business.